Okay, so this portion is the spirit question and answer. And you see Peggy just hopped on. Hi, Pegs. Good to see you. Um, so we're going to go ahead and tap in and be able to bring you answers from the spirit realm, and just allowing for you to get the answers that you need and allow for more clarity to come your way. So feel free, those of you who are here live, to drop into the chat. I see some coming in. And then I also have some from the event. So I'll go ahead and do that as well. Good to see you. So, okay. Okay, good question, Kim. So why do spirits live in the furniture and clothes? Like, why do we pick up sensations? Okay, kind of the sensation. So let me know if you need more elaboration as I answer, or as I am answering, I may have questions for you. So I feel like what you're saying is like, why do spirits like step into furniture or step into clothes or that kind of thing? I feel like another part of your question is, why do we pick up on sensations? So I'm just wondering, like, what kind of sensations? And so, cool. So she says, yes, yes. Okay, thank you. It's for our perception is what they're showing me. It's for our it's for humans' perceptions. That's the way we'll be able to recognize them. We don't necessarily have the mechanisms in place. We have them. We're developing them. We don't necessarily have the mechanisms. It's not like an innate thing, I guess, to be able to see spirit. So we're definitely developing that. And so when they say we don't have the mechanisms, it's almost like we're in this evolution period where we're able to see more and more and more of spirit. At the same time, it's like they're making it easier on us. That's why they come into furniture. A lot of times I'll have loved ones come into the coat rack. I'm like, hello. And it's almost like so our entity can pick it up. So our entity is able to make sense of it. And so again, they're showing me we just don't quite have the mechanism in place in order to allow for us to be able to see spirit, just almost like they're saying, like with the naked eye is what they're showing me. And so good to see people hopping on. I'm just answering a question in the chat. So why do spirits live in the furniture, clothes? You know, why do we pick up on sensations? And so then, okay, perfect. And so then I feel that, again, it's making it easier for us, making us be able to witness it. Our eyes, our perceptions are not looking for spirits. In order for us to survive, we don't need to look for spirits, but we do need to look for objects, and we do need to be aware of our surroundings, and so that's what we do. It's one of our survival tactics, and so that's why we're seeing spirit in furniture or clothes, or even sometimes on my quilt I'll see like faces or that kind of thing, you know. So that's why, is because we're aware of our surroundings, and that's what we're looking at. So that's what we're aware of. So great question. Okay, sounds good. To Crystal and Steph, who just hopped on. So then, thank you. And so, okay, why do we pick up sensations? And I feel, again, Spirit's showing me that they come in and help us to see that we're utilizing us. So again, they're coming in and they're really allowing us to be able to utilize our senses, you know. So it's almost like helping us to recognize them through our sensations, our senses. And so in a lot of ways, they're making it easier on us by being able to come in at our level, is what I'm hearing. And definitely let me know if you need more about that. Okay. And so, Peggy, I feel yes. And it's, I feel yes to your question. So then spiritual, like education. So Kim is just saying, how do we get downloads that are spiritual in nature, and how do we understand it? Okay. So how do we get those downloads? How do they come in? Okay, and I'm almost wondering if you're wondering like how we differentiate it. Like, how do we know, is that me? Is that spirit? And I feel like if that's the question, Kim, you're so fast. Hi, Jody. Oh, okay, perfect, Jody. Okay, it's all good. So, okay, sometimes. So we're gonna go there first, and so for myself, I recognize for myself that it's coming from spirit by the way I feel, and then also you can probably tell even just I can tell the way my body changes and my voice changes when I'm pulling in information spiritual in nature. You probably are also noticing, I tapped one too many times on my necklace, it just popped. That's awesome. Pop, 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 pop. So you'll probably also notice when I'm channeling that my eyes kind of go at half cast. I look away, I close my eyes. So then I know, oh gosh, this is spirit. It was interesting before, hi Jackie, before I came on, because I started tapping into some of the questions that were on the Zoom event, and it was interesting because spirit was like, just wait until you can tap in with us. And I feel like I do often at the same time. What I loved is that sometimes they'll tell me, you're not working right now, and so let's tap in at the designated time. And so with that, as they were sharing that with me, I was asking, I was like, I'm kind of more curious to this question. And then I said, you know what, I'm really curious too, what else is going to be brought in during this spiritual question and answers. And so another way that I know is just that sometimes it feels like brand new information to me. It feels familiar at other times. It feels like, oh yes, this is definitely from source, that kind of familiar, like I'm feeling that familiarity with source. So those are some different ways we can know that this is a download that is spiritual. Some of the things that we're experiencing, and then how to understand it. And I feel like it is being able to tap in and have that source. So then just to be asking questions. So spirit was saying like, okay, don't tap in yet. Go ahead and tap in when you're in the zone, when you're destined to, and then we'll get more here. And so when I'm fully tapped in. And so with that, then I feel like I can understand better if I'm allowing for that tapping in and designating that time and space for it. And then also, in order to understand it, I'll ask questions. So I had a spiritual advising session before this, and it was interesting because they were saying that things in life don't matter. And the spiritual advising client was saying, but wait a minute, are we supposed to be learning lessons? Lessons matter. And I asked for more clarification. So being able to ask more questions to spirit, and what they were saying was that there are things that we go through that are necessary in order to learn lessons. And then they were showing me that there are things that don't matter, but life lessons are necessary. And so it was almost like a semantic thing that they were trying to bring in. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so Stephanie's just wondering whether she's picking up on someone else's energy or if it's her own. I feel like, I feel like what you're asking, but I feel like there could be a question off of this, but what you're asking, it feels like, is that you're wondering, okay, is so-and-so sick or am I sick? Or is so-and-so angry or am I angry? Kind of like that. So I feel like there's a multitude of answers for this. And so I feel like one that they're saying is almost like, okay, so let's say recognizing that all of a sudden you get angry and you weren't angry before, then this is somebody else's energy. Or all of a sudden you get irritated and you weren't irritated before, somebody else's energy. All of a sudden you get tired, you weren't tired before, this is someone else's energy. So recognizing how that difference, so perfect stuff, thanks. And then recognizing that, I feel like another thing that can hop off of that as a question is almost like, is it spirit or is it me? And I feel like hopping off into that question, it's recognizing almost like the difference between spirit and ego, right? And so allowing yourself, we can further that. I'm going to further answer Stephanie's question because she gave more to elaborate on. So Steph just says, like, I'll just be sitting and working and something pops up. Okay, so if you're, and I feel like in that case, it was just like, boom, here we go. If it's a feeling or even a thought, allowing yourself to recognize that is more than likely someone else, because we know our thoughts, we know our emotions. And I feel like the more and more you do this work and you're more aware, is what they're showing me, the more aware you are, then you know what your sensations are, what your body does, how you feel, how you're feeling. You're tuned into you. So you're tuned into you in order to tell the difference between yourself and somebody else. So I think that's really cool. And you let me know if there's more to elaborate off of with that. And so let's see if there's any other questions that might spin off of that. Okay, so, okay, thank you. So spirit versus like ego, let's say, or spirit versus human. A lot of times it's interesting because I feel like I can feel truth. Like I can feel truth from spirit. I know it's 100% true, and I feel like I can tell that it's from spirit because it feels lighter, it feels easier, it feels more efficient, it feels more filled with unconditional love. So I know that that's from spirit. I know that for me, if it's something I'm picking up, I can tell that when either ego is attached or emotions are attached or something like that, I can tell me. Thank you. Spirit also doesn't judge. We kind of inadvertently judge, and so maybe not to a great extent, just because we've been really working on ourselves, but at the same time we are assessing and analyzing various things. And so you can notice that as well, that spirit's almost like just this pure truth coming forward, and we would more like maybe analyze it, or you can feel an emotion kind of attached to it, that type of thing. Okay, so then Crystal, I commanded out loud that Ruth cannot have any energy, and she was quite nasty today. Or am I just extra sensitive? So let me answer this kind of like as a general. So thank you. They're kind of phrasing it like this. So orchestrating out loud that you want somebody to change doesn't make them change, but it may, if it's being sent to them, they will feel a difference that you're trying to change them. And so, yes, people may react when you're trying to change them, even though it's on an energetic level. Also, tuning into yourself if you are, okay, so if you're wondering at times in your life, am I being too sensitive? Am I being too this? Really, sometimes what I'll do is I'll say, is it true? And I'm asking how in general we can answer your question, Crystal, like just for the collective, so everyone can get information from your particular question. And I feel like what they're showing me is that what can happen is we investigate. So they're just saying, like, if you're feeling like perhaps I'm being too sensitive, we investigate. Is it true that I'm being too sensitive? Is there something that's irritating me? Is that kind of thing. So asking yourself those questions to allow yourself to really figure out perhaps you versus the energies. So Kim says, let's see, okay. I'm curious why I'm getting info regarding exit points now, and in the past I wasn't. I've been told I've been given dying person a day or two more energy, and it was like life preserving. And for some now I'm picking up on exiting more. Very curious. So in general, again, we're wanting to share with all of you and not necessarily just like specific to situations. So then they're going to answer collectively for everyone here. And so why would you pick up on a special skill like that? It's because you're getting better at it. It's because you're getting more experience and exposure to it, and so you're going to get better at it. It's a way for you to practice, and so that's why. I just want to see if there's more with that. Okay, so that's why you'd get better at a skill, is because you've had exposure, and we're wanting you to be able to practice, and we're wanting you to get more experience in that way. If it's too much, you can always ask to either turn it off or to not get as much. Like any good thing, they're saying, like any good thing you're learning, there are times that you need to turn it off. Okay. So one of the questions from the Zoom, does spirit or the soul choose the entry and exit points? Okay, thank you. They are saying yes and yes to the entry and yes to the exit. My question for them is, though, that we have multiple exit points. We have multiple exit points, so we don't just have one exit point. We have multiple exit points that we get to, let's say, I'm throwing it out, choose, but they're saying, no, you're not choosing them. It's more the circumstance and the variables. So then I'm looking at that. And so we do have choice with the exit points. Okay, we do have choice with the exit points. So our spirit does throw out these various exit points, and then we have this choice of sorts to exit. So that is looking at then people who may, so I know, like working with hospice, the doctor may say, okay, this patient seems like in the next week they'll pass, but they keep plugging away after that week. They're kind of making that choice. And so then, since they're making that choice, it may be, or there may be a reason behind that. I want to see my daughter. I want to see my, and they can't get here for another week and a half. So recognizing that that's their exit point is there. It's kind of, it's there, but we also have somewhat control over it. What's interesting too, this is really interesting, is that we have multiple entry points. Whoa, really? Okay, so this is cool. So the timeline of 9 months to be pregnant, and they give you a due date, and then there's some that go over, some that are before, and some that are right on. So there are different variables that shift and change the entry and exit points. And so one of them is that for that entry point, it is, are the parents, it's interesting to say, are the parents ready? And then I just countered with them real quick. And I'm like, what if they don't have the crib up? Like, is that what you mean by not ready? And they were like, no, it's more like, thank you. As somebody has an entry point, it's going to affect a multitude of people. And so it's almost as if, okay, and that entry point, that, like, for example, for me, like being a mom, that entry point of my son is going to impact me. And then that entry point is also going to impact me. And that entry point, his entry point has been written in my contract. Okay. And so I need to go through various things like with his entry point. So if all the variables are not in place, let's say, for it to fall into place with how it is in my contract, then there may be a lag of some sort. So we do have multiple entry points as well. I'm asking more questions thought to that. And they're showing me entry points, of course, in past lives as well. So if we're looking at entry points, they're not, let's say, not just this lifetime, but we have multiple entry points because we have multiple lifetimes. Definitely let me know if you need more off of that. So in asking questions, it's almost like, again, this kind of general. So being able to ask almost like for the general, a collective. And so another question from the Zoom, event, child, that's my dog. Daisy, stop. Okay, that was part of my contract. Okay, so Daisy, stop. Daisy, stop. Okay. That was my child. It's part of my contract. So anyway, let's see here. So some of you are wondering what she was doing. Some of you are like, what is she doing? Anyway, she was licking, and we can't have her lick where she was licking because it'll get worse. And so then let's look at, okay, thank you. So from the Zoom, that one's mine. Sorry, I got distracted by her because we have 3 animals and Daisy's like mine. Okay, so is spirit and soul the same thing? I'm getting no, and I'm getting it's really sweet because like a little girl just popped in. It feels like it's one of yours. It's a guide. It's like a guide of one of yours. And it's a little girl, like joy guide energy. So I'm getting it's a joy guide of somebody's, which is kind of cool. Because there's like this giggle, like, of course not. Okay, thanks. So cool. That's cool, Crystal. You say Lala? And it's interesting because you're on the screen, you're to my right, and she came in on the right. It's really sweet. And I was getting, yeah, I was getting yes on that confirmation. Okay, that's cool. That's so sweet. So, were you? That's so cool. So spirit and soul are different. Spirit is everlasting, and spirit is all connecting, and spirit's connected to God. Spirit's connected to the divine source energy. Spirit is connected that way. Soul is more on this conscious level, on this like a consciousness, like higher consciousness. Is that soul? No. So it's almost like conscience. Our conscience is that soul. Higher consciousness is the spirit. Okay, so thank you. The soul, this is interesting to me, the soul kind of makes our existence possible. It's okay, thank you, okay, cool. Spirit again is connected to source, is like very pure. So then soul is connected to us, to our bodies, to our emotions, that type of thing. So then soul is going to be, let's say, I'm asking if it's okay to say it's like lower, and it is, because it's more like human, and the spirit is more celestial, let's say, up there. Let's say the soul kind of assists us in let's say like thinking, acting, that kind of thing. So this is a great question, because I'm getting no, but then our minds want to see, all right, so okay, so the soul and the spirit are separate. Wait a minute, what's inside me? Is it a spirit or is it a soul, right? So I feel like maybe that's another question that's being bounced off of that. And so then it's almost like they want us to see that there isn't like definitive boundaries of soul and spirit. Like spirit is limitless. Okay, spirit is limitless. So then there isn't those boundaries. So like, you know, I'm like, okay, wait, okay, so you're saying soul and spirit are separate, like it's not the same thing, correct? And then wait a minute though, do we have that soul and that spirit on top of us? And so I'm trying to ask them these questions so I can help you to understand. And so what they're showing me is it's almost like it is sorry, Crystal just said, so we're only half operating off spirit. So, right, we got to raise it up. There you go. And so it's almost like we can coexist in soul and in spirit. So I'm asking again, I'm pushing them. I'm like, are we separate entities then? Are we separate entities? Is the soul a separate entity from the spirit? And they're saying yes, but not in your thinking, right? So we want to see 2 separate things, okay? But they can coexist. Thank you. Soul is almost like the portal to get us here. Soul is allowing for us to come into this body. Spirit is our connection to that spirit is our connection to that source. We have that within us as well. Definitely ask me more questions off that, because I'm asking more questions. So definitely ask me more questions off that if you have them. All right. So, Crystal. Okay. So Crystal's asking about, I'm just going to kind of phrase it so that it speaks to the collective. All right. All right. Thank you. So I almost feel like a question here would be to be able to say what's the difference between spirit and my telekinesis. So what is the difference between spirit and my telekinesis? What's are they coexisting? Are they co-creating? Is spirit creating my telekinesis? Is my telekinesis just me, kind of thing? So they're showing me it does coexist. And again, our minds want to separate. Our minds are just this, our minds are like that. Isn't that interesting? Our minds want to separate. And so what spirit wants to do and what spirit does is wants to just kind of make us all one, let's all be happy. So they kind of just want to make everything all one. So even as you're talking about spirit energy and telekinesis, they're like, it's one and the same, right? So spirit does help with that telekinesis. You are energetic because spirit's nearby with that telekinesis. And that's a good question. It's a really good question, because I feel like then with telekinesis, it's almost like I'm doing this is what, people may feel. And I feel like they're showing me that it's spirit driven. I'm just asking them the question then, how do we know, like if a coin was to slide across the table, how do we know is it either spirit or is it me? Is it my energy? And so then, cool. So it is recognizing that we're utilizing spirit in order to make that happen. So if a coin slid across the table, how do I know if it's, let's say, my Uncle Billy or is it me? It's both. Ooh, they're being tricky today. So thank you. I was just telling them in my mind, I'm like, we want separate though. I know that's how we operate, And so they're showing me then, okay, thank you. If you're trying to be able to tell the difference, then what you can do is you can pull in, you can really, okay, so was that Uncle Billy? Uncle Billy, step forward. Was that you? And just being able to ask those questions, and allowing for you to then sense that. Asking pendulum, seeing if this is my energy or seeing if this is the other energy. Asking them to step forward. And I feel like too, like just to almost like do experiments of sorts to see, let's say, I want that dime to move, and to almost like within your being, like it's going to be me that's moving it. Granted, you're going to have this spirit energy, but it's going to be me that's moving it. I want that dime to move. Uncle Billy, please step forward. I would love for that dime to move. I hope you're seeing the difference here. And so, right, Jody. So our telekinesis is spirit helping us. Very good. And again, and I feel like that's why they're saying it's not separate. So it's not separate. So we're using spirit energy to make that happen. Okay. I hope that makes sense. Definitely let me know if you have more questions off of that. It's a great question. Thank you. They're showing me like it's almost like we can experiment. Like we can experiment. So allow for yourself to experiment with it. Uncle Billy, please step forward and move the dime. Uncle Billy, please help me to move the dime. So that's good, Crystal. The more we're connected, the better. Absolutely, because we are utilizing their essence. spirit. We are using spirit. So, okay, so another question from the Zoom event was, how do we know if something is a soul contract versus free will? So that's a great question. So they're showing me right now that with soul contract, it is a soul contract. So you're going to get this soul contract similar to the exit and entry points. What's going to happen is we are going to have like leeway, let's say. So perhaps in your soul contract, it is that you're needing to break up these patterns of abusive relationships. Okay, that's part of your soul contract. Okay. So part of your soul contract is to learn that, right? You have the free will of how you're going to learn that. Are you going to be in 3 or 4 different relationships before you then recognize that you're going to go to a different relationship that doesn't have the same tendencies? And so it's almost like recognizing that if somebody's taking action, okay, it more than likely is, they're saying it is part of that soul contract, and we do have that free will with that soul contract, just like we have multiple entry points, we have multiple exit points dependent on variables. And so then with that, recognizing that even if somebody's acting out of free will, they are acting within their soul contract. Okay, anything else there? Okay, and any questions off of that? Stephanie, good question. Soul contract versus poor decisions. So yeah. So it is part of that soul contract, and then almost like not that we define it, but that we then orchestrate it, how the soul contract is laid out. Thank you. And they're also showing me, like, with those lessons, then, with your soul contract, perhaps one of them was to be able to get to that point of not attracting some of these relationships, and realizing that at age 20 you were able to do that, and you were able to find your life partner, and you met that. And so then there's more for you to learn, let's say. And so thank you. They're showing me that with the soul contract too, it's not necessarily that at age 20 you're going to overcome this, at age 30 you're going to overcome this, at age 50 you're going to overcome this. There's all of these different lessons that you're needing to learn. And so allowing yourself to recognize that it could be a hodgepodge of how you learn them. Okay. And I feel like we're always learning. So the soul contract isn't in sequential order. That's cool. All right, cool. Let's see here. All right, cool. So Crystal and then Becca had a question in the Zoom event, and they're correlating, so that's pretty cool. That's cool. Crystal, are you reading my paper right here? Like, are you looking over my shoulder? Is Lala giving you answers? Okay. So if carrying past karma, what is recommended to deal with it? Okay. It's almost like it's so close to the question that Becca asked. It's so funny. Can a person be born cursed? Okay. So interesting, they're saying yes. Person could be born cursed, let's say. That's not what we choose to use, though. That we're not using that word. You haven't been stamped with bad life on your forehead. Okay. But there is some past stuff that we're coming in with that are really needing to be cleaned up, okay? And it's also based on your decision making is what they're showing me as well. That we have, through our actions, we have more control. Thank you. They're saying you have more control, like as a collective, you have more control than you realize. Okay, I'm just going to keep talking because they're showing me like with certain actions that you take, you can pull out of that state. There's a tap back here. I don't know if you heard it. It was pretty cool. And then my lights just flickered. Not behind me, but sorry, in front of me. So, all right. Let's keep going on that because I feel like they want to give more to that. Thank you. They're showing me it's almost like, you know, you have this, you're like the black sheep in your family or something like that. And it's just like, why? Oh my gosh, why? And I feel like they're showing me we have more control than we realize. You're just countering with them. I'm like, shit happens. Like, you know that, right? And they're showing me it's a portion of our journey to learn how to direct and redirect the energies. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Jody brings up a great question. Then Becca just kind of bounces off of that. What about family generational curses? We can clear them if we choose. Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny because they're saying like, we don't call them curses. It must be like a vernacular thing, you know? What do you call them then, Spirit? We call them decisions. All right. So decisions to be brought into lifetime after lifetime and decisions to continue moving forward on the same track. You have decisions, you can make a choice. You have a choice to change your decisions. All right. Sorry, I'm just asking you a lot of questions about my life too, just to make things make sense. Because I'm just thinking about some of the horrific things that happen to people. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just countering with them about that. Like some of the horrific things that really happen. Like, did I really have control? And actually, it's interesting because they're showing me you had control of how you reacted. Yes. Do I have control? Like, can I break out of it? Am I in control to break out of it? Yes. And I feel like that kind of dovetails what Jody was saying. We choose, right? We choose. We have that choice. We can change it. And, you know, any of those clearing techniques that people, I'm just thinking about the pendulum emotional clearing technique, but that people use, whatever clearing techniques you use in order to clear it, you can do that. You can make other decisions and choices is what they're showing me. So recognizing that we may have to clean up messes from past lives, yes. I think, Crystal, maybe what you're pulling forward is kind of cleaning up messes from past lives. So yeah, so being able to clean up some of those past life messes, it's interesting. So then, and I'm wondering, like, can we clean them up pretty damn quick? Because let's move on with this. You know what I'm saying? Like, do we need to like relive, so much? And I feel like that definitely brings forward Becca's question as well. They're having me come back to Jody real quick though. As readers, we should make sure we let our clients know that they can clear things freely. Yeah. Perfect, Jody. So curses aren't actually curses and they are not forever. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is something that you have control over. Also recognizing if somebody's to hear, I have a curse on me from birth, they're going to live out their life like that, so power of suggestion. So it may be something where instead that person, maybe they did have some past life stuff that they needed to clean up, but they were told you're going to have a great life. And then they were able to, like, some, stuff happened to them and they were able to see the silver lining and they were like, I did have a good life. I really did. I had a great life. Okay. So power of suggestion, power of words. Okay. So let's see here. All right, good. So I feel like more can come off of that. I almost feel like somebody might have another question about a past life or something like that. Just like a general question. My ears are ringing, confirmation. So then, Becca, what is the fastest way to heal these past traumas, right? And so I was kind of alluding to that as well, because it's almost like, okay, so we have these past lives, and then, you know, how do we clean up the messes? Can we clean them up quick? It's tricky I just asked them that, and they said it's tricky to clean it up as a child. It's tricky because there's a lot of pressures from our parents. We're needing to stay safe, obviously, so we're needing to have shelter over us. We're needing to have food. We need all of our basic needs met. And it's a little feather. Let's see if I can catch it. It's really teeny. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it did finally catch one. I don't think you can see it though. It's right on the side of my finger. Put my hair. Have a black. Do you see it? That's fun. So I feel like then it's going to be trickier as a child because we're trying to stay safe. We're trying to have all our basic needs met. There's another one. And I feel like then with this, then it's a little trickier to be able to clean it up pretty fast, you know? So too, thank you. They're showing me that in childhood, there's like a collective, and then we can start chiseling away. Gee, thanks. At that collective that we've picked up from childhood into early adulthood. They're showing me that clear some of these past traumas. Once you get to like that, more wisdom or development, they're showing me it's a development stage, you can start really honing in on that. I'm asking how early is this developmental stage that we can start cleaning up some of the past life trauma. And they're showing me that some really, really advanced souls are starting to clean it up at age 5 or 6, let's say, but they're needing to be savvy with maintaining their basic needs at the same time. Developmentally, 15 or 16, you can really start cleaning up some of those past life traumas. So allowing yourself to do that. So I just asked him, I was like, how do we allow ourselves to do that? And so 15 to 16, it's almost like, again, a development. So being able to, thank you, it's like a seeking of sorts. So they're showing me some various sweet little ones that are either not veiled or they ask the right questions and they start cleaning stuff up by then. So looking at recurring trauma patterns, you know, kind of stuff that's lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. You know, oh my gosh, I did this again, this happened again, how come this is happening again? And so they're just showing me some of the parallels between lifetimes. One, they're saying take ownership. Wow. That was like, boom, take ownership. So let me just ask more questions about that. Thank you. So they're showing me like, I've done a lot of pendulum emotional clearing technique, and I feel like that is a really fast way to heal past life traumas. And that's from my own experience. But being able to, you know, find a trigger right now and then be like, is this fear, or is this anger? Is this fear with family? Is this fear with friends? Is this fear with self? And then, you know, is this fear with a past life? Yes, I went to know because I started asking ages in my head. And so yes, it's a past life. Okay, taking ownership for murdering somebody, taking ownership for beating somebody, taking ownership for mutilating somebody, taking ownership, and then really changing perspective on it. So, for example, I did a past life. It was a trigger, and it was a woman in this lifetime. This is about 5 or 6 years ago. And anyway, I just felt like she was taking advantage of me. Going back to that lifetime, turns out I took advantage of her. Okay, so then it's almost like as soon as I was able to clear that and have empathy for that and compassion for that, and I feel like have compassion for both sides, have compassion for yourself, have compassion for them. Perhaps I had to take advantage of her. Maybe it was for survival. Also, like, oh my gosh, to be taken advantage of is definitely does not feel well. So having that compassion, that empathy, really helped to be able to clear that up. So I think that that's what they're showing me right now is like take ownership, take ownership for that. So so I feel it does feel like that. It's almost like, okay, because I was asking if healing and clearing are the same, or in this case, are they the same? And they're saying yes. So being able to clear can also help to heal. Okay. So again, they're saying take ownership there. Definitely ask me if you have more questions off of that, because I don't know if that's just cut and dry or that's, as I feel like there's more questions off of that somehow. So definitely let me know. Okay. Right. So, and that's good, Crystal. Crystal's had interaction with some of the spirits, kind of with them having the understanding of what her past life was, and you apologized, right? So it is taking ownership. And people can be angry and spirits can be angry. That's okay, almost like it's justified. Last night, there was an angry spirit. I could feel her, and I understood why she was angry. And I have a tripod that's behind my computer, and it was set up in my kitchen, and I was vacuuming, and the cord was nowhere near the tripod at all, and it came crashing down. And I was like, oh, you're mad. And she said, it was almost like it was more frustrated. And being able to be in her energy, I was like, that makes sense that you're frustrated. So I feel like it's almost like acknowledgement. It's like it's okay to be mad. Do you know what I mean? I feel like in our society it's hard when people are angry, because we're just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? We almost go into panic or fight or flight. But at the same time, it's like it's okay. I hope that makes sense. Like, it's okay if the spirit is pissed off. That's all right. And so apologizing is great. Having that increased awareness is great. Thank you. They're showing me, Crystal's saying, why are there a decent amount of not so happy spirits? They're showing me that's perception. They're showing me that it's how people are picking up on the energy. And so if a spirit has like something that they're needing to remedy, something that they're needing to they're frustrated with, or they're irritated with, or something along those lines. We need to not necessarily see that as a bad thing. All of a sudden, a spirit said, are all of you happy-go-lucky? Are all of you happy, happy, happy all the time? There's a lot to do behind the scenes. That's funny. So almost like allow yourself to have that, like, to change perception. Thank you. For example, there was a woman that was haunting a house, so I did a house clearing, and I may have shared this story before with some of you, but the husband and wife, they were really, they're like, she's really angry. They were both mediums. They could feel it. And I was able to come into her energy. She was really angry. And it was interesting, because it was like, everyone was perceiving that she was angry, but she wasn't angry. So it is a perception thing. She was trying to get their attention, and anger gets people's attention, right? If you get angry, you're going to get attention, right? And she wasn't angry. And it turned out that he said he would do ninja moves on her. I said, is that working? He said, no. I'm like, oh. And so anyway, I sat down on the couch, and I felt her sit next to me, and I held her hand, and she said, you need to find my son. So she was portraying this like anger, let's say, to get our attention. You remember in Ghost, remember Patrick Swayze? He was like trying to move that coin to get his wife's attention, right? And he finally like got angry and it went, right? So we need to make sure that it's not the same anger, okay? So we need to change our perception about that. It's not necessarily that, again, that they're angry or they're that kind of thing. It's just how they're putting forth that energy. So for her, she was trying to get their attention, got their attention, right? Got their attention. He's doing ninja moves, and then they call in a medium to do a house clearing. So she got their attention, didn't she? And then when we sat down on the couch together, she was very, very concerned about her son. His health was not very good, and he was living, obviously. So anyway, so I hope that's making sense. Okay, so Jody, let me just bring this forward, and this will be our last question. So thank you. I feel like I need to read your question out loud to help everyone, even on the replay, to be able to understand it. I had a dream of 2 women sending negative energetic attacks to me, but it's affected my family members instead because those 2 women can't get to me. All right, thank you. What are some rules of thumb on this? For me, it was a good reminder to put protection over them regularly, but why is it that others can do this so easily? So I feel like these energetic attacks. Thank you. So and I think that's great that you shared, like you need to put protective energy on your family. I feel like it like bounced off of you. You're so protected that it bounced off of you. And so where else is it going to go? Energy has to go somewhere. Okay. I feel like their intention was at you. Okay. Their intention wasn't at family, but it hit you and then went to family. Because where else is it going to go? Like a bouncy ball. They throw it at you, you're rubber, right? Bounces off. Sticks like glue to them. What is that little saying? But anyway, so it does make sense to do that. I do feel that makes a lot of sense to be able to protect our families, to be able to protect our homes. You know, we have that. I feel like this is good that you bring this forward because we have that awareness, right? Our family members don't. And so helping to protect them. So again, they're showing me like that energetic attack was against you. That was the intention. It wasn't against your family, but it bounced you to your family. Okay. So good, Jody. Perfect. Well, wonderful. You guys, this was an awesome session. Thank you so much for being here.